When Doom 3, the long-awaited second sequel to the first-person shooter that popularized the genre and revolutionized game design, came out, I was an early teenager entering high school without the slightest intent of entering the field of video game journalism. Now, as the BFG edition promises to deliver the greatest Doom experience yet, I've been through university, have reevaluated my life umpteen times, and have matured from mild-mannered adolescent to man. 8 years is a long time, and the release of Doom 3, a jaw-dropping title that served up some of the slickest visuals across any platform, now seems like a lifetime ago. So if a lengthy absence for this franchise has only been rewarded with the repackaging of a game almost a decade old, there had best be a world's worth of new content and fresh gameplay to enjoy. Has id Software complied with that charge? For those who haven't played through the 2004 FPS, Doom 3's story stays traditionally simple. Just as in the original PC games, you take control of a nameless and voiceless space marine who gets sent into the Union Aerospace Corporation's installation on Mars. The private company's military-backed research into teleportation and advanced weaponry are headed by the unnerving, half-blind scientist Dr. Betruger, and as you touch down, it quickly becomes obvious that the situation is awry. The UAC board is investigating reports of civilian casualties and unrest. Scientists and soldiers alike freaked at increasing numbers of foibles at otherwise routine days at the orbital office. Then all hell literally breaks loose. As you attempt to recover another missing researcher who's desperately trying to send warning of an imminent apocalyptic threat, a portal connected to a demonic realm opens, and the forces of hell invade. It then becomes your objective to escape the facility, to prevent the fire-friendly fiends from getting to Earth, and of course, to survive. It's a straightforward plot, and rightly so. A title like Doom does not claim to be complicated, and Doom 3 honors that lack of panache with a frank horror tale and a formulaic fighter in its leading role. The BFG edition also includes the original Doom, Doom 2, the Resurrection of Evil expansion of Doom 3, and the Lost Mission, an all-new series of levels that were cut from the game. The former two are unchanged from their most recent downloadable counterparts, available on Xbox Live. If you've already forked up the Microsoft points, you'll get nothing here but frame-for-frame clones. And considering that they were already included in Resurrection of Evil 7 years ago, these are obvious bullet points that do nothing to impress. The 2005 expansion pack is included here and is also pretty much how you remember it. The Lost Mission is really the only new content you're getting here, but new is used loosely. You take command of one of the Marines and Bravo team instead of the controllable hero in the core game, and advance through the hell-infested halls of the UAC base from a different perspective, much like Half-Life's Blue Shift or Halo 3's ODST. The problem is that many of the areas are just copy and pasted right from Doom 3. You're just retreading familiar topography. It's really cheap. Even the new areas provided, given the monotony of the corridor terrain, don't give you much of a different playing ground. Ultimately, this is an altogether sloppy package that will disappoint fans longing for loads of new, original content. Doom is the shooter of shooters, and Doom 3, core game and expansions, features some of the most solid gunplay you can find. A slight deviation from the originals of the 90s, the gameplay is more survival horror than run and gun. Progressing through the UAC's blood-spattered vestibules, you'll routinely enter a room, hear a forewarning noise, and have to contend with a number of demons. Scares are pretty much dependent on possessed engineers emerging from some darkened corner of the room that suddenly opens up when your back's turned. One thing is for sure, this is not as terrifying a game in 2012 as it was in 2004. Yes, we've grown up since then, but another reason is more obvious. Just like the Resident Evil series, the gameplay has become more convenient, and thus not as pulse-pounding. The most striking adjustment in the BFG edition is that you are now equipped with an armor-mounted flashlight, meaning that you can use your torch while torching up the place. The inability to use your light and your weapon concurrently was definitely frustrating. I mean, see or shoot, you couldn't do both. Let alone the fact that it made no logical sense at all, that a trained soldier in the 22nd century can't even hold a flashlight with his other hand while using his sidearm is still laughable. It was just a pain in the ass. But just like struggling with awkward controls and camera angles as you found yourself surrounded by zombies, relying on the flash of bullets for light in the pitch black was a careful design choice by id that heightened the game's horror. Now able to see and shoot, you progress through the game's quarters more confidently, no longer inching along half scared to death. And therefore it should also be noted that this is an artificially shorter game than before as a result. id have always been defined by technology, setting the benchmark for production values and graphical clout. John Carmack's design genius powered the company's early titles, and Doom 3 was simply one of the greatest looking games of 2004. The disparity of the sci-fi sanctum sterility turned bloody battlefield was perpetually disturbing and gruesomely comprehensive. That said, BFG is a sad low note for the company. In 8 years, the visuals are virtually identical. Texture resolution has slightly improved and the frame rate never dips. Ironically, this also lessens the horror atmosphere, but heads are still hexagonal and standing too close to any object is painful to the eyes. As a comparison, last year's Halo Anniversary attentively updated its precursor skin to give the appearance of an Xbox 360 title. Its job, by contrast, is pathetically poor. The sound design never needed any improvements. The blast of shredding imps with the shoddy has never been more nourishing to the ears, emaciated only by the haunting grumble of an unseen form or human, or the roar of the extremely unsettling Pinky. PDAs are all over the base, their audio files establishing the current Carnage's context, and leaving codes to security lockers usually within the vicinity. The overall ambience is terrifying and does its part in keeping you on the edge. There have been a few other tweaks here and there. A checkpoint system was to be expected, and now ensures that forgetting to save is not punished with 30-minute retreads. The easy difficulty has also been made easier for those who found the original to be too unforgiving. And there have been a few extra areas thrown in every now and again, particularly one room at the beginning of the game that features Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3, an arcade parody of classic Doom gratuity, and a spin on Capcom's Street Fighter Alpha 3. It's hilarious, and strangely, it's the highlight of this package. Probably the most sloppy of BFG's misgivings is its main menu. You can choose to play Doom, Doom 2, or Doom 3 BFG, which includes the core game and its expansions in another submenu. Okay, simple enough, but then there's no way to come back to this menu while in a game. So if you want to play the original Doom and then suddenly you want to play Doom 3, quitting does not take you to this main menu. It takes you to the Xbox Live dashboard. Why exactly? On top of this, at the time this review has been written, installing the game on your hard drive prevents you from playing the first Doom. For a game that aims to do so much to convenience the player at the expense of its own form, these are serious flies in the ointment. Diehards will most likely be satisfied with what they get in this collection, but that id Software could have done so much more to truly provide the greatest combined experience of one of the greatest and most important franchises of all time, and didn't, is inexcusable. A wretched job at updating the game's graphics, a disappointing expansion in the Lost Mission, and the concession of user feedback via the armor-mounted flashlight, thereby removing the game's signature scare, leave you with the watered-down Doom chest that Carmack should be a little embarrassed of. We recommend the original on the PC and Xbox if you have yet to play it. Big effing gamers, welcome to an inferior Mars.